Hey everyone, I'm so glad you're here. Please like and subscribe to the channel to give me more motivation to tell more interesting stories. Now let's begin. It starts with a groan, low and strange, like the building is clearing its throat. You look up from your phone, annoyed at first, assuming someone upstairs dropped something heavy again. Then the groan deepens. A pause, then a crack. You don't even get to finish the text you're typing. The floor beneath you lurches, and suddenly gravity isn't working like it used to. The lights flicker. The ceiling drops by 2 feet in a blink, like it's trying to hug the floor, and you're caught in the middle. Instinct kicks in. You move almost, but it's not fast enough. A wall splits. A bookshelf tips. The window explodes inward, and then everything caves. Not like in the movies, not slow, not dramatic, just gone. The world becomes sound and weight and chaos. A pressure cooker of stone and steel and wind. You try to scream, but your voice gets swallowed by the concrete above you. Your arms flail, then vanish under debris. Your legs twist. Something hits your back hard enough to make your ribs sing. Then, silence. You can't see. You can't move. All you hear is your own heartbeat pounding like a war drum inside your ears. This is not a normal earthquake. It feels personal. You taste dust, blood, metal. Your hands twitch. That's good. Hands are useful. But your legs, no response. You blink. Can't tell if your eyes are open. Everything's pitch black. Somewhere a car alarm is going off. Far away, like it's underwater. This can't be happening, but it is. Your name is... What is your name? You force it to the surface. It takes longer than it should. Okay, you know who you are. Now what? You listen. Not for rescue, just for reality. Something. Anything. All you get is the sound of stone settling. Something drips nearby. Pipes blood. You try not to think about it. You're pinned under something heavy. Maybe a desk. Maybe part of the ceiling. You can't tell. But you are breathing. Barely. You wiggle your fingers, count them. 5 on one side. 4. No 5. Just numb. You whisper, "Hello?" Your voice sounds alien. You try louder. "Hello." Nothing answers but the void. Historians still argue whether the deadliest structural failures in history, like the 2010 Haiti quake or the 1906 San Francisco disaster, were worsened by poor engineering or bad luck. Right now you vote for both. And maybe a little bit of cosmic cruelty. You want to cry, but you don't. Not because you're brave, because you're too stunned. Instead you focus. Triage mode. Okay, priorities. Breathing check. Moving partially. Bleeding, you don't think so. Trapped absolutely. You try to reach your pocket. Takes forever. Your hand finds your phone. Cracked. You press the power button. Nothing. You try again. Longer. Still nothing. No light. No signal. No help. Just you and rubble and time. They say your life flashes before your eyes in moments like this. Yours doesn't. You get fragments. Your mom singing in the car. The smell of popcorn during a midnight movie. That dumb laugh your best friend makes when they're tired. The last message you sent before this happened, it was a thumbs up emoji. Great. If this is it, you're going out with emoji energy. But no, not yet. You're here. You're alive. And if there's one thing you still have, it's the next breath. Then the one after. Then the one after that. You don't know it yet, but it will be 72 days before you see the sky again. And this was only day 1. You don't sleep the first night. You exist. There's a difference. Sleep implies choice, comfort, darkness that you enter willingly. What you're in is not that. This is darkness that owns you. You try to close your eyes, but it doesn't matter. Nothing changes. Light doesn't come back. The world outside, whatever's left of it, keeps spinning, but you're frozen in time, sandwiched between concrete and steel. wondering if the next sound you hear will be your last. At some point, your body forces a shutdown, not sleep, a reboot. You drift not dreaming, but blinking in and out of a weird state, somewhere between fever and memory. When you stir again, it could be hours later or days. Time has already broken. You try to speak again. Hello. Still nothing. The air is dry, hot. Dust chokes every breath. You try not to panic, but it's creeping in like mold on a damp wall. You focus on the small things, counting heartbeats, inventorying your body. Shoulder dislocated, probably. Rib definitely bruised or cracked. Legs still pinned, still numb. Fingers working. That's something. You dig barely with your right hand. You feel dirt, crushed plaster, something soft paper fabric. You can't tell. You pat the space near your hip. Something hard. A metal thermos, still sealed. You twist it open. Inside stale water. A miracle. One sip, not two. You've seen movies. Ration everything. It's not cold. It tastes like rust. But it's wet. You cry this time from relief. Congratulations, your first win. You wonder how far underground you are. You remember being on the 3rd floor, which means depending on the collapse, you could now be anywhere from 10 feet to 20 meters below surface. It's like being buried alive but sideways. Historical fact: after the 2010 earthquake in Chile, a miner named Edison Peña was trapped 700 meters underground for 69 days. He became known as the Runner because he jogged daily in the tunnels to stay sane. You aren't jogging anywhere, but you respect the vibe. Still you move, just a little. Micro stretches. You roll your wrist, flex your fingers, shift your jaw. It's enough to remind your body you're not dead. You listen again. This time you hear something different. A creak, then silence. Then somewhere faint, a voice. No, a machine. Distant mechanical rumbling. Your heart leaps. Could be a rescue team. Could be a generator. Could be an earthquake encore. All terrifying. All better than silence. You scream. Hey, I'm here. Help. You slap the pipe above your head. Bang, bang, bang. You pause. Listen. Nothing. Then just maybe you hear something. A faint metallic reply. Like a shovel or imagination. Historians still argue whether the people who survive long entrapments, like miners, sailors, or earthquake victims, share some common psychological trait. Optimism, stubbornness, denial. Whatever it is, you're starting to find it, because even though your hand is bleeding from pounding that pipe, you smile. Someone might have heard, or not, but you screamed anyway. That counts. You rest again. You dream this time. Of pizza, of blue skies, of running through grass barefoot while someone calls your name. You wake up coughing. There's no pizza, no grass, just you, and the rubble, and the scrape of rat claws somewhere nearby. You whisper, still here. It's day 2. You're alive. You'll stay that way. You wake with a mouthful of dust and the taste of metal. Your tongue is dry, your lips cracked. The thermos sits beside you, still half full. You think about chugging it, then you don't. You take one sip slow and steady and screw the lid back on like it's the last treasure on earth, because right now it is. You run your fingers over your pockets. Nothing new. No phone signal. No light. You do have a pen, though, and a crumpled receipt. It's not much, but hey, every great diary starts somewhere. You scrawl across the paper, day 3, still breathing, still trapped, still me. And that's when you realize something you need to document, not for anyone else, for yourself, to keep your brain in order, to remember who you are. If the walls forget you exist, at least your scribbles won't. Let's take inventory. You start with your body. Right leg still numb, maybe broken. Left leg some tingling now. Could be good. Could be swelling. Left arm bruised but usable. Right arm, MVP of the situation, wounded but working. Ribs, yep, still singing like an out-of-tune violin. You're sore in places you didn't know had nerves. But you can move your head, shift your back, and miracle of miracles, reach one corner of the collapsed space where light almost makes it through. You dig. Tiny bits, loose powder shards of drywall, maybe a plastic cup. You find a button, random, a plastic wrapper, a coin, useless, but proof you're not buried in a coffin. There's stuff here, which means maybe you can carve out more space. Historical fact time: during the 2005 Pakistan earthquake, several survivors trapped for days under concrete managed to stay alive by expanding tiny crawl spaces with nothing but belt buckles and spoons. You don't have a spoon, but you've got a pen.
Time to dig.
You jab into the softest corner. Scrape, scrape, scrape. It's slow, maddening, but something shifts. A tiny cloud of air brushes past your face. Not enough to breathe easier, but different. Fresher. You smile, then cry, then laugh. It's all the same now. Emotions have blended into one big messy soup you can't separate anymore. You make a list in your head. Don't scream unless you hear something. Move every hour, even if it hurts. Ration water, one sip every few hours. Invent games. You're on level 3 of Find the Rat. Remember your name. Remember who you were before this. Fringe tidbit. There's a weird psychological trick. Some POWs and trapped survivors use the third-person method. They narrate their own survival like a story. You try it. You whisper aloud. She is trapped but not broken. She will wait and she will fight. She will not disappear. And weirdly, it helps. Like you're telling yourself the ending has to exist because stories don't just stop halfway through. Historians still argue whether survival comes down to luck or mindset. You're starting to think it's both, and maybe a little stubborn rage, because now you're mad. At the building, at the silence, at fate, gravity time, God take your pick. You grit your teeth, shove your hand into the dirt again, and keep digging. You sleep with the pen in your hand. It's become your sword, your journal, a sacred text. Tomorrow you'll write again. Maybe on the wrapper, maybe on your arm, maybe with blood if you run out of ink. Let's hope not. But you'll keep going, because survival, it turns out, isn't one giant choice. It's 1,000 tiny ones. And tonight you choose, I'm not done. The voice comes on day 5. You're not sure it's real at first. Maybe it's a dream, like the one last night, where you were lying on a beach eating watermelon with your 6th grade math teacher for some reason. But this sound is sharper. It cuts through the fog in your skull. It's a voice, muffled, garbled, like someone yelling through layers of blankets. Your eyes fly open. Hello, you scream. Your throat cracks from the dryness. You slam your fist against the nearest pipe hard enough to sting. Here I'm here. You wait. Silence. Then again, a voice. More like a shout now. It's definitely real. You laugh, then sob, then cough. This is it. They've found you.
Right.
You've been wrong before. Back on day 2, you thought you heard digging. Turned out it was a rat chewing on something in the distance. Day 3, you swore you heard a dog barking. Nothing came of it. But this is different. You can feel it in your bones. You shout again. Nothing. 10 minutes pass, then 30. Still no rescue, no reply. Historical fact: during the 1985 Mexico City earthquake, dozens of survivors reported hearing rescue teams above them. But due to shifting rubble and confusing acoustics, help often arrived days later, sometimes at the wrong place entirely. Sound does weird things underground. You know that now. Still, the idea that someone might be trying gives you fire. You rearrange everything around you. Thermos in one corner, wrapper in another. You start banging every 30 minutes tap patterns you hope someone trained might recognize.
Tap, tap. Pause. Tap, tap, tap.
SOS. It's the only Morse code you remember from a movie. Fringe fact, some entrapment survivors create their own languages to stay sane. One Chilean miner reportedly started talking in full pirate dialect. You consider adopting a fake British accent, just for fun. You try it. Excuse me, governor. Bit of rubble's blocking me flat. You giggle into your sleeve, then you cry again. It's a full emotional buffet down here. Later, something new. Drip. You freeze. Drip, drip. Water. You crane your neck. The sound is faint but distinct. You shift your body slowly, groaning through the ache. You manage to tilt your head just enough to see it a little stream, maybe 10 inches away, seeping through the wall. You stretch. Your fingertips graze cold dampness. Yes, you soak part of the crumpled receipt. Suck on it like a popsicle. It tastes like drywall and sadness, but it's hydration. Another win. Historians still argue whether water or hope is more essential in long-term survival. You'd argue it's the one you run out of last. Right now you've got both. Kind of. You make a new plan. 3 things. Keep tapping. Keep moving what you can. Conserve everything. That means no more panic. You tell your anxiety politely but firmly to shut up. You're busy, not dying. You hum to pass the time. The same tune your mom used to play on the old kitchen radio while chopping onions. You can't remember the lyrics, but the melody clings to your ribs like comfort. You imagine the rescue crew above. You picture helmets, search dogs, bright lights. You whisper to yourself, they're coming, and you believe it, at least until the next silence swallows you again. You begin counting time by the drips. Each one falls from the same crack in the wall, slow and rhythmic, like a leaky faucet from a forgotten world. You name them, drip 1, drip 2. By drip 60, you decide you're roughly an hour in, though who really knows? Watches don't work down here. Phones are dead. Sunlight's on vacation. So you invent time. You divide your day into 3 sacred rituals. The stretch, the tap, the sip. The stretch is when you move every inch you still can, neck, fingers, toes, if you could feel them. It's a defiance of stillness, a middle finger to paralysis. The tap is your daily scream into the void. 3 short taps, 3 long, 3 short again. SOS. You've tapped it so many times, you hear it in your dreams now. And the sip. That's the hardest, because the water's running out. The thermos is down to its last few gulps, and the wall drip through loyal is fickle. Some hours you get nothing, others a glorious bead of wet salvation. You ration like a monk, a tablespoon at dawn, another at midday, the last at evening, right after you whisper your new prayer. Stay alive until tomorrow. That's all you have to do. Historical fact. In 2013, a factory worker in Bangladesh survived 17 days under rubble by sipping rainwater through fabric and chewing on his own soaked clothing. Fringe tidbit. He claimed the thing that saved his sanity wasn't food or water. It was mentally planning the perfect pizza he'd eat when rescued. You try it. Your dream. Meal, a cheeseburger, the size of your head. Extra pickles milkshake, thicker than guilt. You can almost taste it. You wonder what day it is on the surface. Are people still looking? Are you on the news? Did someone hang your photo on a street lamp with the word missing? Or worse, did they stop hoping? You try not to spiral, but it's hard, especially when you hear nothing. No drills, no machines, no voices, just that drip. Your best friend and worst enemy. You start talking to yourself, not in a crazy way. Okay, a little crazy, but it helps. You narrate your thoughts like a nature documentary. Here we see the lesser-known urban human curled in its subterranean cocoon, sipping drywall dew and contemplating its existence. You chuckle, then cough, then sip. Historians still argue whether isolation or injury is the true killer in collapse survival. You're leaning toward neither. The real enemy, time, not the ticking kind. The stretched, distorted, eternal kind that makes a minute feel like a year and a day, like a decade. You swear entire lifetimes pass between each drip now. You mark the wall calendar you scratched in with your pen. 5 lines, slashed. Day 5. Alive, not rescued, not dead. Still you. Before bed, you run inventory again. 1 pen ink fading. 1 half-crushed thermos. 2 sips left. 1 wrapper now a bookmark. 1 shoelace you've braided it into a bracelet. 1 cracked rib your constant roommate. 1 voice still yours. You whisper, tomorrow they find me. And you decide to believe it, even if it's a lie. Because what else is belief really but a lie you choose to keep alive? You've started seeing things. Nothing dramatic. No angels or phantom rescue workers. Just flickers. Sometimes it's light. You swear there's a soft glow to your left. You reach for it. It disappears. Other times it's sound footsteps crunching above. A breath behind your shoulder. You turn your head, heart racing, and it's gone. You're hallucinating. Congratulations. Your brain has finally decided to throw you a little underground circus. All clowns, no exit. It starts when you dream of a voice. Clear this time. Someone calling your name over and over like a lullaby. You jerk awake. Darkness. Drip. Silence. You say your name aloud just to hear it. I'm still here. You don't recognize your voice anymore. It's raspier, slower, like it aged while you weren't looking. Fringe, tidbit in long-term isolation. People often develop what psychologists call phantom companionship syndrome. Their minds invent a presence to keep them sane, like the volleyball in Castaway or the ghost of a loved one. You haven't reached full Wilson levels yet, but you do catch yourself whispering to your thermos. You've named it Kevin. Kevin's a good listener. To pass the time, you invent routines. Day 6's agenda. Morning stretches. 100 tap drills. Inventory check. Kevin appreciation ceremony. Memory game. Try to remember every teacher you ever had. You get stuck at 5th grade. Was it Ms. Graham or Miss with the short hair and angry eyebrows? You cry for 5 minutes just thinking about her. Then you laugh because you're crying about multiplication tables in a tomb made of office supplies. You hallucinate a beam of light next. So real you reach toward it. So strong you try to stand. You scream. Pain explodes through your back and legs. You fall again. Dust rains down. It was nothing. Just your brain on low battery trying to generate hope like static. Historical fact: during the 2008 Sichuan earthquake, a man trapped under a school building reported seeing an old friend sitting beside him offering water. The man had been dead for years. When asked about it later, he shrugged and said, "Maybe the dead just visit the quiet places." You talk to your dead grandfather. Why not? He always told stories about building fences during the war. You retell them now out loud, half to the shadows, half to yourself. At some point, you swear you hear him answer. But it's your own echo, or Kevin. You don't question it anymore. You run through old songs in your head. You hum them softly, the ones that don't make you cry. You hum until you forget you're doing it. It helps, like a signal to whatever gods might be bored enough to listen. Historians still argue whether the human brain wants to survive or if it just hates boredom. You figure probably both. Because this isn't just survival. It's a war against nothingness. And nothing is loud. Nothing is brutal. Nothing eats at you like rats with invisible teeth. You whisper, "Just give me a real sound, a real sign." Not long after you hear tapping. Not yours. Not echo. Tapping. Faint. Real. Off rhythm. Your heart nearly explodes. You scream. Kevin falls. You bang the pipe again, frantic. The tapping stops, then continues. Slow, deliberate, tapping. You sob. You laugh. You whisper. They heard me. You don't know if it's today or tomorrow, or a hallucination with better timing than usual. But you hold on to it, because it's not a flicker. It's not a dream. It's response. And that's enough. You don't sleep that night. You wait. You wait for the tapping to return, for the machine hum, for voices, boots shouting, maybe a chopper overhead. You imagine rescue dogs barking the sound of gloves on rubble, your name shouted by someone who matters. But it never comes back. The tapping is gone, like it never existed. You start to doubt. Maybe it was your own echo. Maybe it was Kevin again. Or worse, maybe help was nearby and you missed your chance. You spiral for a while. You call it the hole inside the hole, but you climb out of it. Not because you're brave, not because you're optimistic, because staying in the hole takes more energy than crawling out of it. And right now, energy is currency. You spend it wisely. You shift position. Your body protests. You offer it no apology. You crawl an inch. That's a win. You find a new pocket of air behind a crumbled panel you hadn't noticed before. You poke your hand through. Nothing sharp. No danger. Just a different kind of emptiness. And in that space, a candy wrapper. Crinkled. Empty, but with a smell. You inhale the sugar scent like it's Chanel No. 5. You keep it. This is luxury now. Historical fact: during the 2010 Haiti earthquake, a 28-year-old man survived 12 days on Coca-Cola and little else. He credited his survival to willpower and, in his words, a very sweet soda and Jesus. You don't have soda or Jesus. You've got Kevin and crumbs of hope. Good enough. You play games now. Memory match. Alphabet soup. Name a fruit for every letter. Then countries. Then states. You get stuck at Q. Quinoa's not a country, despite your insistence. You design a dream house in your head. 3 windows. Lots of light. A kitchen with a fridge that hums and sings. You mentally furnish it. Couch, rug, fridge, shower. You weep when you remember the concept of a shower. Fringe tidbit survivors of long-term entrapment often report craving cleanliness more than food. Something about the body knowing it's alive when it feels fresh. You rub your shirt across your face. It doesn't help, but it's something. And then the rats come back. You hear the skitter first, then a nibble. You freeze. It's not just one. You imagine a small gang of them. The Rat 5. They're plotting, watching. Maybe one's named Roger. You hate Roger. You hiss. Bang a pipe. They scatter. You win that round. But you know they'll be back. Because down here, you're not the apex predator anymore. Historians still argue whether people in survival situations lose more humanity or gain it. You're not sure yet. But today you thanked a candy wrapper. So the line's blurry. You trace new lines on your wall. Day 7, 1 full week. You hum your theme song. You imagine it plays in the background when you're finally pulled out, maybe something dramatic, or ironically cheerful. Here comes the sun. Or maybe just elevator music for the full comedy arc. Before bed, you press your ear to the pipe again. Nothing. But that's okay, because now you know it's possible. Tapping exists. Voices exist. The surface isn't a myth. You whisper, "Hold on, they're coming." And Kevin agrees. Probably. You name the rat. You didn't want to. You resisted for a whole day. But he keeps showing up. Same soft scratching sound near your shoulder. Same cautious pause, like he's waiting for permission. You call him Twitch. He's surprisingly quiet company. Doesn't steal your food because there is none. Doesn't try to bite yet. Just exists, like you. 2 survivors in an accidental tomb. You talk to him. You're past pretending that's weird. Morning Twitch. No construction sounds again today. Shall we do inventory? Kevin the thermos gets a nod. Twitch gets a salute. The days bleed together now. You've abandoned counting hours. You operate on instincts. Wake when the air feels cooler. Sleep when your thoughts get too loud. You scavenge the corners of your little tomb for anything you missed. You find a bent paper clip, something that used to be a pen cap, a fossilized piece of chewing gum, dust, so much dust. Fringe tidbit during the 2006 Kenya building collapse, a woman survived by chewing on leather scraps from a handbag and reciting verses from memory to keep her mind sharp. You've got no leather, but you do have TV show quotes. You recite every line of your favorite sitcom from season 1, word for word. You mess up the punchlines. You laugh anyway. Kevin leaks. You discover it on morning number 9. The lid's cracked maybe from being dropped or crushed. You panic. Screaming, you grab it. Try to save what you can. A few droplets land on your shirt. You suck the fabric. It tastes like sweat and sadness. Still hydration. You wrap the base in your sock, prop it up against the wall. You swear to yourself. No more spills. Kevin's on bed rest. Twitch returns. You don't even flinch now. You both just nod, like commuters on the same broken subway line. You start narrating his adventures. Day 9. Twitch considers life choices. Wonders if underground real estate is worth the mold risk. You giggle. You nearly choke. But it's worth it. Historical fact. In 1972, the survivors of the Andes plane crash resorted to extreme measures to stay alive, including eating parts of their dead companions. It was unthinkable until it wasn't. You think about it sometimes. What you'd do if there was a body nearby. Then you shove the thought down into the hole where you keep your fears. You're not there yet. You don't want to ever be. Your dreams shift again. This time it's a hallway. Bright, white walls. Your mother's perfume floating in the air. You follow the scent until you wake up with tears rolling sideways down your face. You whisper, "Don't stop dreaming," because even if they hurt, they mean your brain still works. Historians still argue whether survivors like you are made or born, whether the moment of collapse creates a fighter or reveals one. You decide both. You weren't ready for this, but you're becoming someone who can handle it. You build a new wall calendar. This one's mental, a tiny grid behind your eyelids. You mark today with a star. Because today you didn't cry. Because today you cleaned your fingernails with a pen cap. Because today Twitch didn't leave. And in a place where everything has left you light sound time, that means everything. You scream again. Not out of hope, out of rage. You slam your fist against the pipe, not in any SOS pattern, just chaos, fury, frustration. Your body aches with the movement, your throat tears with the sound, and you almost don't care. You scream until you're hoarse, until your vision goes starry, even in the dark. And nothing answers back. No voices, no tapping, not even Twitch. It's day 10 or so, you think. You stopped scratching the wall 2 mornings ago. What's the point? Right. It's like the universe has decided to test how far it can push you before you break. You're beginning to think you've passed the test, that the result is failure. You whisper to yourself, they're gone. Everyone's gone. You try to picture the surface. Buildings rebuilt. News moved on. Families posting smiling photos at restaurants. People forgetting there's a person right here under their feet, whispering to metal and naming rats. The idea hits harder than your hunger. You try not to cry because dehydration's a jerk with a punchline, but the tears come anyway. They taste like dust. Fringe tidbit, a Turkish man trapped under rubble in 1999, survived by singing opera to keep his lungs working. When he was pulled out, the rescuers said they followed his voice like a compass. You hum a low note now. It sounds like wind in a hallway. You raise the volume. A tune takes shape. You don't know the words. You just keep humming. Because the silence is worse. You lose track of time again. You sleep in 30-second bursts. You wake hallucinating that Twitch is your cousin. You apologize to Kevin for drinking too fast. You try to pray, but forget the words. Your thoughts feel like static. You rest your forehead against the cracked panel you've been digging at. Then a sound. Sharp, distinct. A voice, this time not imaginary. Hello? You freeze. Heart in throat. Then again, faint but real. Is someone there? You try to scream, but your throat cracks. You cough, nearly choking on joy. You bang the pipe, hard. You grab a rock and start hammering like your life depends on it, which it does. You tap in rhythm, SOS, then again, then again. The voice returns, louder, closer. We hear you, hold on. You collapse against the pipe, laughing and sobbing at once. Twitch bolts. Kevin rolls sideways. You don't care. You've been heard. Historical fact in 2010. One of the Chilean miners said the most surreal moment of being rescued was not daylight, but hearing a rescuer say their name for the first time in weeks. You imagine your name spoken aloud again. Your real name, not whispered, not muttered in darkness, yelled, called, remembered. You can't believe it. You almost don't want to, because believing means hope, and hope, as you know, hurts. Historians still argue whether faith or skepticism serves survivors better. You say believe when it's safe, pretend when it's not. Right now you choose to believe, because that voice, it was real, and it said hold on, so you will. Even if your body's giving up, even if Kevin cracks in half, even if Twitch relocates to a less emotionally unstable human, you're going to hold on, because you were heard, and that changes everything. You don't sleep, you wait. For the first time, waiting feels electric. Every second is charged with the knowledge that someone out there knows you exist. The silence isn't cruel anymore, it's purposeful. It's the calm before hands tear open your cage. You grip Kevin like a lucky charm. You scan the shadows for Twitch. Even he seems nervous, like he knows the world is about to change. You whisper to the darkness, don't stop, please don't stop. And they don't. You hear it the next morning, the sharp clang of metal on concrete. Slow at first, deliberate, then faster. Voices, multiple this time, clearer. You press your ear to the panel. We're here. Hold on. We're going to get you out. It hits you like a wave. You thought you'd be forgotten, that they gave up, but someone didn't. Historical fact. During the 2005 Kashmir earthquake, rescuers located a trapped child by listening to his fingernails scratching plastic through a drain pipe. It took them 36 hours to reach him. You don't care how long they take now. You just know they're coming. You respond the only way you can, by living louder. You keep tapping. You scream raspy and broken. You even hum again. You want them to know you're fighting so they don't stop digging. And then the voices pause. Can you tell us your name? You whisper it. Then say it louder. Your real name. Not just I or me or her in your thoughts. You are you. They repeat it back. You cry, hard, ugly, pure joy. Twitch vanishes into the dark. Kevin stays close. The digging gets louder. You hear someone say, we're almost there. You repeat the words to yourself like a spell. They're almost here. They're almost here. They're almost here. Fringe tidbit. Some rescuers claim that survivors give off a different sound. That the moment someone is truly close to life, the echo changes. The breathing shifts. Something invisible clicks into place. You believe it, because everything's different now. Even the dark feels lighter. Historians still argue whether rescue is a science or a miracle. You know it's both. It's tape measures and hope, concrete saws and stubborn belief, men and women with helmets and strangers praying miles away. It's you not dead yet. They tell you not to move. They tell you to breathe slow. They ask questions to keep you conscious. What's your birthday? Favorite color? What's 8 times 7? You say blue. April 56. Then you say, I named the rat Twitch. There's a pause. Then laughter. Real laughter. You laugh too, because you sound human again. You press your hand against the panel that's kept you buried for over 10 days. The digging changes now faster, closer, frantic. You can feel air movement on your face. That's when you let go of the fear. You whisper, okay, I'm coming back, because for the first time, you know it's true. Light hits you like a punch. Not sunlight. Not yet. But light from a flashlight cutting a jagged line through the darkness. It makes your eyes water. You flinch like a vampire in a teen novel. But it's beautiful, warm, real. Hey, I see her. A voice, a new one, excited, relieved, like spotting land from a sinking ship. You try to smile. Your face doesn't cooperate at first. It's stiff, swollen, but eventually the corners of your mouth turn up. You raise your arm. It trembles, shakes, falls. A gloved hand reaches through the opening. We've got you. Don't worry, just a little longer. Historical fact, during a 2011 earthquake in Japan, rescue teams worked through collapsed hospitals and skyscrapers using sound triangulation and heat sensors to locate survivors. One woman was found wedged behind a vending machine, whispering prayers in the dark. You don't have a vending machine, but you do have a name, a voice, a flashlight, and now a hand. They widen the gap with careful precision. Tools buzz and grind. Someone throws a tarp over the exposed area to block falling dust. You hear walkie-talkies, instructions. Someone says, she's still conscious. That's you. You're someone again. You remember your dreams. The hallway. The beach. Kevin. Twitch. You clutch the thermos like a relic. They'll try to take it, but not yet. Not before you say goodbye. You look into the beam of the flashlight and whisper, I knew you'd come. The hand reaches further, brushes your shoulder. You nearly sob from the contact. Just hang on. We're clearing the last part. Fringe tidbit. The body's adrenaline spikes higher after rescue is imminent than at the moment of disaster. It's the relief surge, a last surge of energy before collapse. You feel it now. Your hands tremble. Your head swims. But you are awake. Every cell in your body is screaming, live. Then they reach in and grab you gently, slowly, carefully. You scream again, not from fear, but from pain. Your legs, your ribs, your spine, all of them disagree with movement. But the pain means you're going somewhere. Upward, outward, back to life. They place a brace around your neck, oxygen mask to your face. They speak in calm tones, saying your name like it's sacred. You whisper back, don't forget Kevin. They laugh. Someone carefully slides the thermos out with you. You cry again. Historians still argue whether survivors remember everything accurately or symbolically, whether memories get warped by trauma. You don't care. You'll remember it this way forever. The hand, the light, your name on someone's lips, Kevin being cradled like a treasure, and Twitch vanishing maybe into legend. The moment your feet hit the stretcher, you smell wind. Not hospital antiseptic.
Not dust.
Air. Open flowing, untamed. It smells like trees, like fuel, like life. You inhale greedily. You whisper, I forgot it smelled this good. Someone tightens your blankets. They wheel you out. People cheer. Cameras flash. You squint. You don't care. You're alive. You whisper to yourself, I won. And Kevin agrees. You wake up in a room that hums. Not like the cave, not like the whispers and drips and echoing taps. This hum is clean, low, steady, a ceiling vent maybe, machines nearby. You're lying on something that doesn't press back. A mattress, an actual bed, white sheets, too white, blinding white. Someone notices. She's awake. Voices swirl in. Nurses. a doctor, someone in a suit, another in scrubs. They all smile like they've known you for years, like your family who came home. You want to say something clever, but your mouth is too dry. Instead, you whisper the only word that matters: water. Fringe tidbit: some disaster survivors report that the first sip of real water after rescue tastes sweeter than soda. One Chilean miner said he cried harder over a bottle of Gatorade than he had in 20 years. You cry too. The nurse holds a straw to your lips. You sip like it's holy. And it is. Your body is foreign now. Everything hurts. Your arms feel like branches from a frozen tree. Your legs barely twitch. Your muscles don't trust gravity anymore. You're not even sure how long you've been lying down. They tell you slowly. 10.5 days. You blink. You thought it was a month. You thought it was years. You're told they almost gave up the search on day 8. But someone on the team insisted they try again. Some young guy believed he heard your taps. You silently thank him. You name him Kevin too. Historical fact: during the 2010 Haiti earthquake, over 4,000 rescue workers from 27 countries assisted in recovery efforts, many staying long after the press left. Survivors said it wasn't the machinery or tech that saved them, but the insistence of strangers who refused to stop looking. They tell you bits and pieces: how the building pancaked, how other survivors were found, how some weren't. You ask about Twitch. They blink. You clarify. The rat. They laugh again. No idea. Maybe he's still down there running a subway system. You smile. Small. Real. You miss him. Kevin sits on the bedside table. Someone cleaned it. There's even a ribbon around it. You ask who did it. The nurse shrugs. One of the rescue guys said you'd want it clean. Thought you'd want it to last. You nod. You do. Because Kevin isn't just a thermos. He's the proof that you didn't break. Historians still argue whether resilience is innate or trained, whether people become survivors or are born that way. You've decided it doesn't matter, because when it came down to it, you chose to stay. Not for glory, not for fame, just to sip dusty water from a dented thermos and wait one more hour. Again and again, a psychologist comes in. She speaks softly, asks careful questions. Do you remember your name? Where you are? Do you have family? You answer.
Yes.
She smiles. Then she says something you'll never forget. You know, most people would have given up. You don't say anything at first. Then you whisper, I did, a few times, but it didn't stick. They leave you alone for a bit. You stare at the ceiling, white, smooth, motionless. It feels like looking into the sky. You whisper to no one, I made it. And the hum in the room answers you. You don't go home right away. Your body isn't ready. Your mind even less so. There are days in rehab where you can't tell up from down. You learn to walk again, wobbling on legs that feel like borrowed broomsticks. Physical therapists cheer when you stand for 5 seconds. You try not to cry when you collapse on the 6th. And always Kevin is there. They don't let you keep the same clothes from the collapse. Too dirty, too damaged. But you ask for the sock that wrapped Kevin. They give it to you in a plastic bag labeled Patient Belongings. You laugh when you see it, because that sock is more precious than gold. You once called it your insurance policy. Now it's a medal. Historical fact. In the 2015 Nepal earthquake, a baby was pulled from the rubble after 22 hours dusty but alive. The photo went viral, tiny arms raised in the air like victory. You think about that baby a lot now, how survival isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's just not dying long enough to be found. They give you a tablet in rehab. Ask if you want to read news articles about your rescue. You hesitate. Then click. Headline after headline. Trapped. 10 days beneath rubble but alive. Woman's taps lead to miraculous rescue. the thermos that became her lifeline. You scroll until your eyes blur. People left comments, thousands. I can't believe she survived. She's a warrior. I cried reading this. You blink. It's surreal to see yourself from the outside. As the girl who lived, you whisper, I was just trying to last one more day. Fringe tidbit. Psychologists note that trauma survivors often struggle with praise. The brain used to panic and scarcity doesn't know what to do with admiration. You get that now. You don't feel like a hero. You feel like a person who got lucky and tired and stubborn, mostly stubborn. They offer to fly in your family. You panic, then nod. They come, tears, hugs, too many voices at once, but their touch is warm, and none of them say the wrong thing. Your mom brings your favorite snack. You can't eat it yet. Still, you hold it like treasure. You meet Kevin, too, the young rescuer. He's shy, barely speaks. You thank him. He says it wasn't just me. You smile. But you heard me. That's what mattered. He smiles back, then adds, you're tapping. It was off-tempo, like jazz. You laugh so hard your ribs hurt. Historians still argue whether survivors owe the world their story, whether they should speak or just live. You're not sure yet, but you're writing it down. Every detail, every joke, every rat. Maybe one day someone else will need to hear it. Maybe you're the voice they'll hear tapping in the dark. You whisper that thought to yourself in bed that night. And, for the first time in what feels like years, you fall asleep without the fear of being forgotten. You learn the term survivor's schedule. It's what therapists call the way your brain works now. You eat when you remember. You sleep when your body demands it. You flinch at random noises. You check dark corners for rats, not out of fear, but out of habit. You also start talking to water bottles again. People notice. You joke about it. Old habits. Besides Kevin's semi-retired, they smile. But the joke lands differently for you, because Kevin wasn't just a thermos. Kevin was the last piece of order in a world collapsing 1 inch at a time. You still keep him by the bed. You get invited to speak, a fundraiser, then a documentary, then a late-night show. You refuse the first two, accept the third, mostly because they say they'll let you wear sneakers. On stage, under soft lights, the host asks, how did you stay sane? You answer, I didn't, I just stayed me, barely. The audience claps. You pretend it doesn't feel good, but it does. Historical fact, after the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, a woman who floated on debris for 2 days was found smiling. When asked why, she said, the sky looked so blue, I figured I wasn't dead. You get that. You walk outside and stare at clouds for hours now. Because they're there. Because you are. You write a list one night, what I know now. You can cry from hunger and still laugh in the same breath. Rats are surprisingly chill if you're nice. Darkness doesn't mean you're alone. Naming things helps. Time stretches when you stop believing in clocks. Life is the dumbest, hardest, most precious thing. You write that last one twice, just to make sure. Fringe tidbit. There's a documented psychological shift in many disaster survivors. They report stronger attachments to objects, socks, watches, even pebbles. The brain rewires what counts as safety. You don't need science to confirm it. You still talk to Kevin. You still keep Twitch's name in your head. You still trace invisible lines on the wall beside your bed. A mark for each day you're above the rubble. Someone sends you a drawing. A little girl from another country saw your story. She drew you holding a flashlight and waving from a hole in the ground. Above you, dozens of people digging. A caption in crayon, I would help too. You cry harder than you did on the day they pulled you out, because she saw you, not as weak, not as broken, but as someone worth saving. Historians still argue whether near death makes people better or just different. You're leaning toward different. You don't panic in crowds, but you do in closets. You love silence, but hate when it's too dark. You laugh more now, especially when things go wrong. Because if you made it out of that, then a stubbed toe or missed bus is just comedy. You still tap, not on purpose. Sometimes during meetings or walking. People think it's a nervous tic, but to you, it's a language. One that says, I'm here, I'm still here, and maybe someone hears it. It happens a year later. You're sitting in a coffee shop, scrolling your phone, when a construction crew jackhammers the sidewalk outside. The sound is jarring, chaotic, familiar. Your coffee spills. Your breath freezes. For a second, your body's back in the dark. Back with the dust, the press of concrete, the silence so loud it screamed. You clutch Kevin, who now doubles as a travel mug. And then you breathe. Slow. In, out. You remind yourself, I'm not under the rubble. I'm above it. I'm free. The barista sees your face. Are you okay? You nod. Just remembering. She smiles gently, refills your coffee without asking, leaves a little extra whipped cream on top. You whisper, thank you. She doesn't know why it matters, but you do. Historical fact survivors of long-term entrapment often experience what's called phantom pressure, a physical sensation of being crushed even years later. It's the body's way of reminding you that you made it even when it doesn't feel real. You volunteer now. Disaster response groups, youth centers. You talk to people going through their own caves, even if theirs aren't made of concrete. Depression, grief, loss. They're all rubble of a kind. You sit with them. You don't give answers. You just say, I know what it feels like to think no one is coming. And sometimes that's enough. Fringe tidbit in medieval times, survivors of shipwrecks were believed to be touched by the divine, not quite holy, but different, set apart. People whispered about them like ghosts that made it home. You're not holy. You're not a ghost. You're a person who stayed alive. Barely, brutally, brilliantly. You mark today, day 3C5. Not since the collapse. Since the rescue. You take Kevin out to the porch. Twitch never came back, but you swear you see a tiny shape darting along the fence sometimes. You nod at it just in case. You sip water not dusty, cold, clean. You smile. Historians still argue whether we remember pain or peace more clearly. You say pain echoes, but peace stays. It clings to the edges of your days. It hums in the background, low and steady, like the machines that kept you alive, like the voices that pulled you free, like the beat of your own stubborn, miraculous heart. You write one last thing in your journal before bed. If someone's out there still tapping, I hear you. Don't give up. They're coming. You close the book, turn off the light, and sleep peacefully above ground. And now you breathe. Let the rhythm slow. Let the images fade, the dust, the dark, the echo of your own voice in a tomb that nearly became your grave. Let it all soften into the knowledge that you made it, that you are here. The tapping is done now. There's no need to pound the pipe, no need to scream into the void. You don't have to whisper to rats or sip water from your shirt sleeve. You can just rest. You made it through what others couldn't imagine, through silence, through fear, through time that didn't move. And now, even though the world spins again and traffic honks and phones buzz, you remember. You remember what stillness feels like and how loud hope can become. So if you're listening and you've ever felt buried by grief or shame or loneliness, know this. There is always someone tapping back. Even if it's just your own heartbeat, you are not forgotten. You are not alone. You are heard. And now, you rest. Thanks for listening to the story.